So my name is Sam Franklin. I'm at the College of Medicine, Anatomy and Neurobiology, which is now neuroscience. I got into this world of teaching because I had a strong interest in gross anatomy from the very beginning, undergraduates. I've been teaching pre-veterinary medicine with animals, so oxes, horses, cows, dogs, sheep. And then I moved into neuroscience. These are my students. I do not have a problem with engagement or motivation. These are very engaged students. Average GPA is about 3.8. MCAT scores are really high. They are very smart, intimidatingly smart when I first started. The question is, what do they have to learn and what are they good at? This is what they're good at. They're good at very memorizing discrete pieces of information. On the left, you can see a slide of the medulla. You can see different things of the brain, pharmacology, but you all have to learn this yesterday. Our classes happen really fast. So it's from 8 o'clock to noon, 5 days a week. This is what they're good at. They're really good at inductive memorization. They're good at, here's what I learned and here's what I can point at. They're terrible at this. You give them this kind of a presentation, this is what you're going to see in clinic, and they have no idea how to take it a step forward. So I did this a couple years ago. I said, well, let's just teach it via a book. Let's use this book all about clinical cases and walk them through how to take apart a case. Except students these days don't seem to read books that often. They much want you to sort of lead them through things. What is the idea? But it does work. Two people in pharmacology and in internal medicine did this really well. They had to work together to make it work. We had a clinical faculty and a pharmacology faculty work together, and so they didn't have to repeat things for redundancy. The next step that I wanted to do is how can we take videos of different types of things and make them more prevalent. This is an interesting video about a poor guy who's had too much to drink, but it's a really amazing demonstration of cerebellar ataxia. So if you look at this video, the students automatically understand what they see, and they can see what cerebellar ataxia is. The question that I had is, where do you get your videos? Do you make videos like by ourselves? So Dr. David Rudy was helping me make videos about the basic neural exam, basic physical exam, or do you buy them straight from TEMA? The advantage to buying them is that they're stored on TEMA's server, they're organized, and they're easily accessible. The problem you have is that sometimes TEMA teaches things wrong, right? And so you have to figure out what's sort of the best way of doing it. So where do you put all this stuff? How do people get this? So the first part here that I needed to talk about is what's the story we want to tell. You have to have the basic science story. You have to have the clinical story. It takes teamwork. Short videos are really powerful. How are you going to make sure that everyone sees these videos? And then you have to tell your faculty that it's not time for everything. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was asynchronous learning and my love-hate relationship with this. This happened in 2015 when we had those snow days. This is what the students did, and this is what I did. Because the way that my lectures go is that Monday is the lecture, and then Wednesday is dissection. And what I found though, is that I had to pre-record all of my lectures, and the students were actually more prepared for the day's dissection after I recorded them, because they engaged in that material and were able to ask questions because it wasn't coming them so fast. So could you, in fact, build an entire gross anatomy course using this flipped classroom model, using echo recordings, using videos? Will they actually get something out of that on their own because they are indeed motivated, and then be more prepared for the dissection? And the answer is yes. So pre-class lecture is about 30 minutes, 50 minutes, and they start falling asleep. This is an example of the middle ear. It's a box, you can see, and they have to know everything on this box: superior, inferior, anterior, medial. Everything here has a reason because there's a disease entity related to it. Once they came into class, we filled out this sort of arts and crafts project, which you can fold together to create that middle ear box. We did this in class together. I had them snap a picture and then submit it to me for a grade. So this then was how I took that information out in the world and made them use it. It made them actually understand case presentations like this much more clearly. How is it that a middle ear infection can give you mastoiditis? How does that infection move? They can actually see those sort of visual connections. And I thought that, and they reported that it was a much more engaging way of thinking about it. I was shocked. I like lecturing. So, but they like videos. So, but you have to commit. One of the things I found first off is that if you have some professors who do echo recordings and some that don't, some students are going to get really irritated, and it's just not going to work as well. So I said, can this work for neuroanatomy? Neuroanatomy is all about line diagrams and drawing, and students do not like using pencils these days. They don't want to draw anything. I tell them over and over again, draw these pathways to understand it. So I tried it again. I said, you know what? Go listen to the lecture, and then we'll come into class, and I'll give you a presentation. A case presentation. You can't actually see it, but the question that I asked them is that I was doing some plumbing. I dropped a hammer on my foot. What's the pathway? They had 10 minutes to draw this pathway, and then we talked about it. On the exam, I then presented this case, which is similar to the one you just saw, and I was refreshed to see that in all the scratch paper that they turned in, I wasn't just seeing scribbling of notes. I was actually seeing them draw the pathway which meant they were engaging in how these things were working and how they were being used.